What I got here is a scrap piece of 1/4 inch plywood that I'm going to cut 12 by 11. Now I need a couple of thin strips, about 1/16 of an inch thick. So I'm going to cut them out of this piece of spruce. Set my fence. Just eyeball it. Doesn't have to be precisely 1/16. The next thing I need to do is make a score cut right in the center of this piece of plywood, about 1/16 of an inch deep. Since the plywood is 11 inches wide, I'll move my fence over to 5.5. Just a little less than 5.5. Lock it down and make the cut. Now I can take the thin strips that I cut and glue them onto the plywood. Little glue and spring clamps to hold it in place. Now that the glue is dried on the strips, I can make another couple cuts. These go right through the strips and line up with the original cut here. Now I got a piece of maple flooring that I'm going to use to make the strip. First thing I'm going to do is cut it down to 1/2 inch thick. Now I need to cut this into a dovetail type shape, so I'm going to tip the blade of the saw and make the first cut. Alright, I've tilted the blade to 20 degrees and I've moved my fence to the other side of the blade, and now I'm going to make the cut. I'm going to move my fence over again so that it's about 1 inch away from the blade. Lock it in, and I'll cut the other beveled side. Okay, now that the dovetail is cut, I need to move my fence back to the other side. Bring my blade back up to 90 degrees. And make another cut in this dovetail. What I want to do is split this in half so I'll have 2 pieces that I can use. I'm just going to bring the fence over till it's close. Lay my dovetail down, just eyeball it. You can also measure, but I'm just going to do this by eye. It's not critical. And then I can make the cut. That's deep enough. It doesn't have to be any deeper. Now what I'll do is I'll take the base and mark the dovetail to length by lining it up like this, and make a mark on the other side. Then I'll cut that to length, and I'll cut these shorter dovetails to length also. First thing I'll do is trim off the end. Then I need for these 2 pieces to be about 3 inches long. And I'll cut those. and then I can cut the dovetail to length. I need to glue the dovetail onto the base, and I'll use one piece of this to line it up where it needs to go. Line it up exactly with the edge of that cut, hold it in place, make a mark on the other side, do the same thing on the other end. Now I'm going to take the two pieces of dovetail and slip them in beside the guide strip and just measure how wide that is. And it's 1 13/16, so I'm going to make it 1 7/8. Get a little glue on here. I'm going to spread some on the other piece from it. Put it in place and then hold it with a couple of spring clamps. Then I'm going to set that aside to dry. Now while that's drying, I can get started on the cutter. This is just a 1/4 inch fender washer, and I'm going to sharpen the edge just a little bit. To do that, I've got a 1/4 inch bolt that's a countersink head that's flared. I'll put that on and thread a 1/4 inch nut onto that to hold the washer. Tighten up the chuck. And then I'm going to put the drill in reverse so that the washer doesn't come loose, and sharpen it with a file. Doesn't have to be razor sharp, just fairly pointy. Now I'm just going to use the disc sander to round over the leading and trailing edge of this block. Now I can take this part and slide it onto the dovetail. Take my cutter, put it in the middle of the block, and make a mark. Now on the center of that mark, I need to drill a hole. So then it's just a matter of screwing the cutter onto the side of the block with a countersunk wood screw. It's going to tighten the screw in until it's just snug, and then make it so that the cutter actually turns and is a little bit slack. To keep the block from sliding off the end, I'm going to use a 3/16 inch washer and a small screw at the end of the guide dovetail. Just screw that in. And so that's it. It's ready to use. To use it, you just slip a sheet of sandpaper in, line it up with the edges, and then slide the cutter ahead. Push down hard, cuts the sheet. To cut it again, slip it in again. I've got a little mark here that shows the center of the sheet this way. Pull it back, cut it off again. It's not a major project. It's something you can do in a spare hour or two. It is really handy to cut sheets of sandpaper up quickly. If you use a palm sander, it's really good for that. Also, the sanding block that I have on my website uses this size sheet also. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.